How good is Adobe Enhance Speech V2? I think that sounds incredibly better. Don't you?
Adobe Enhance Speech version 2 is here, and it's pretty awesome. What you've just heard was processed by the latest model released by Adobe, and they're not stopping in developing voice enhancement and background noise removal. You'll get a more natural sounding voice according to Enhanced Speech V2. Also improves sound separation between the speech and the background noise. It handles microphone bleed well, so we're going to check that out. And it also preserves the original setting. Unlike V1, it added a lot of color and a lot of bass to the voice, quite frankly, which wasn't necessarily always the best. V2 focuses on keeping that original voice. So let me show you how it works. I've got it loaded here, and you can access it using the link I'll post down below. It's really simple. It's available to everyone, whether you're premium or free. It helps because you get more credits if you're premium, and I'll drag in that example video, drop it here, and it simply uploads my audio, enhances the speech, and throws it back to me.
How good is Adobe Enhance Speech V2? I think that sounds incredibly better. Don't you?
And of course, I can enhance it by 100%.
How good is Adobe Enhance Speech V2?
It sounds almost like I'm in a professional studio. If I still want some background noise, I can go to 50% strength and play back again.
I think that sounds incredibly better.
Now, if I go ahead and download this, I can look at my original recording here, which has the background noise, as you'll see here, 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 and at the end. Then if I go to enhanced by 50% over here, you can see a dramatic reduction in that background noise, although it's still there. And if I hit Shift and D on my keyboard, it brings up spectral display, where I can definitely see a little bit of the background noise still blended in at 50%, compared to the original, which had loads of background noise. And then we switch over to 100% and boom, look at that. Switch off the spectral for a moment. We just look at that clean studio quality waveform, switch it back on, and you'll see it's totally eradicated the background noise and kept my voice nice and tight and well processed. This is great if we want to remove all kinds of noises. Remember, the original looked at like this, so we had loads of background noise blended all the way through my speech, but then here it's really cleaned me up using an advanced AI machine learning noise reduction model to make things sound better. But that's just one example. Let's look at some other stuff and really put this new technology to the test. So I'll go ahead and delete this one and we'll start again from the start. Now you'll notice V2 is listed by default now up here, but I can always click down and switch back to the V1 model if I like and do a like-for-like comparison. And I'll do that later on. But right now, let's drag in this one. It's talking on an Expo floor, and we'll listen to a before and after of how it sounds with Enhanced Speech V2. Boom, and that's done within moments. We'll start on 0% strength and have a listen.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's show. I am here at Farm Progress Show 2018, and I have a very, very, very special guest. I've been looking forward to this interview. Let me introduce you guys to Jolene Brown.
So that is really incredible. We're going to the stage now with this AI technology, Enhanced Speech V2 from Adobe, that we can record anywhere we like with anything happening around us and make it sound studio quality just by increasing a slider. Let's try something else. And we'll delete this Expo floor and we'll drag in a Zoom call, because I know many of you are doing interviews on Zoom and other technologies that reduce the quality of the audio that's recorded. So let's listen to the original Zoom call and then fade up Enhanced Speech V2 to see how it processes the audio. And again, this model is fast. It maybe took about 20 seconds to process 3 minutes of audio. Let's play back without any enhancement.
I'm delighted to be talking today with Sarah
Harstrata, round-the-world sailor, adventurer, and humanitarian.
If you're enjoying what you see so far, throw a like and subscribe to my channel for more stuff just like this. So that's incredible. Now we've gone to a studio quality recording from something that started down here like this.
Thanks for having me, Luke. Long time no see.
Yeah, certainly.
So that is incredibly poor, that original audio. Let's listen to some more and fade in Enhanced Speech V2.
I grew up in Wyoming, which is kind of in the middle of the country in the US. And it's the least populated state, and it's known as the cowboy state. It's just kind of full of big open spaces.
Okay, so I think you'll agree. Enhanced Speech V2 from Adobe is awesome. How does it stack up versus version 1? Well, as I mentioned earlier, you can click down and switch over to their version 1 model, and let's drag in that same call and listen to the processing with Adobe Enhance Speech V1. Now, the first thing I'll say is that this enhancing speech process is taking a lot longer with V1 than it did with V2. So clearly, not only have they optimized the algorithm, but they've also improved the time it takes to process your audio.
I grew up in Wyoming, which is kind of in the middle of the country in the US. And it's the least populated state, and it's known as the cowboy state.
Okay, so my first initial reaction is V1 is still very, very good, but it definitely sounds more robotic on the voice. There's more robotic glitches going on. And I remember initially thinking when Enhanced Speech came out from Adobe, especially integrated into the Adobe Podcast app, that it probably wasn't ready for prime time, and I couldn't trust it to put all of my audio into it. As far as I'm concerned, it feels like they've ironed that out and the robotic style kind of curing of the voice has gone. But let's try something else, something that podcasters face a lot: microphone bleed. You're too close to your guest and your speech bleeds over into their microphone and you get that kind of echoey sound in the room. Let's throw some audio in and see what it does. Starting from 0% and slowly fading it in.
So you've lost 40 pounds.
40 pounds.
And do you attribute all that to running?
I do. And I didn't think that I was running long enough or hard enough to do that, but the weight just came off.
So that is incredible. You already have 2 great podcast microphones, in this case the Shure SM7B, and you've got a little bit of background noise and room echo with the microphone bleed going on. That is fixed entirely, and the podcasters sound incredibly high quality using Enhanced Speech V2. Okay, this one I'm dragging in as a Zoom call with distortion, so rather challenging because not only have we got poor quality audio, but we've got a big problem, a destructive problem that's happened to the audio. Distortion is really hard to iron out, but I hear that Enhanced Speech V2 is really good at removing distortion. So let's start on 0% and have a listen to that problematic audio.
Well, yes. I mean, we could obviously we could see
That sounds terrible. Now let's start fading in Enhanced Speech V2.
this coming over a number of weeks, and we had 2 priorities really. One, with my hat on as the director of the Pulmonary Hypertension Service, was to make sure that we continued to provide good care to our roughly 1,000 pulmonary hypertension patients.
That is nuts. I've been doing tutorials for over a decade on how to remove distortion from audio, and I have never heard distortion removal that good, that quick, that fast, and without having to tweak any dials in an audio editor. Next up, I've got some outdoor noise. I've got Isabella in the garden with all kinds of various sounds you'd expect to hear when filming outdoors. Let's listen to what Enhanced Speech does. And do know that it handles video just as well as it does audio files. Let's play.
Hi Mike, it's Isabella here in our wonderful garden, talking to you and hoping that you can do something with my audio because I don't think it sounds so good.
Incredible, right? You could just take any audio and immediately make it sound better. Now, being filmed outdoors, we might want to stick that down at, say, 74%.
Hi Mike, it's Isabella here in our wonderful garden, talking to you and hoping that you can do something with my audio because I don't think it sounds so good.
Now, notice that at around 22%, it still sounds improved with just a little bit of background noise. One thing I've noticed with V2 is the moment you crank it to 1%, you start to hear the difference in the voice. Let's try.
Hi Mike, it's Isabella here in our wonderful garden, talking to you and hoping that
Just 1% of Enhanced Speech V2 will actually dramatically improve the voice but keep the background noise. And there may be many use cases where you want the background noise, but you just want the speaker to sound better. So, my conclusion, Adobe Enhanced Speech V2 is awesome. You can throw in pretty much anything from distortion to microphone bleed to background noise to any kind of problems. It also gives the voice a fuller sound. It sounds more realistic. There's less bass and definitely less robotic glitches, which I know for me was a problem, and I heard from a lot of you was a big complaint about the V1 model. So now with Enhanced Speech V2, I wonder what you're going to do. Let me know in the comments down below and share some of your examples. I'd love to check them out. And there's a video showing on your screen right now if you're interested in more audio tips and tricks that you should definitely watch next.